in normal time. Liverpool 3-0. Corner taken quickly, Origi!
Hello and welcome to the Redscast podcast. We're back after the Blues finally beat us at Anfield. It's a sad time. I'm joined by Michael today. How are we, mate?
It's a complicated emotion, like, to be honest with you. To be honest, the sun's been shining this week and that, and I just think the weirdest thing about that game is that it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
22 years without a win at Anfield, or something along them lines, I think it was. And yeah, I wasn't surprised after it. I was obviously deflated in that, but I wasn't even angry in the sense that in defeats in the past, like the Leicester one, you sat there going, "Oh, the ref this," or "we played better," or whatever. I think they just played better. And even, like, you can talk about the Trent situation with Calvert-Lewin, but without that, they just won 1-0 instead of 2-0. So it's given me a little bit of clarity thinking about it, to be honest with you.
Do you think that we lost the game before it kicked off, in a sense of we probably planned all week for Haaland and Calvert-Lewin, and then Ancelotti threw a masterclass and just threw a spanner in the works at the start?
In a sense, but I think you kind of got to prepare for that in a way. You got to look at, well, Haaland and Calvert-Lewin were touch and go, weren't they? You know, he talked to a couple of Blues in the build-up, and like, I'm not sure they're playing, I'm not sure this. So if the fans aren't sure, then surely our management team should be able... I think they probably did prepare for multiple situations, to be honest. I just don't think they prepared to go 1-0 down to 2 minutes. I think that was the key thing, losing your captain 20 minutes in as well. It's how many stumbling blocks can we put in the way of ourselves, almost. I think that's the thing at the minute. Yeah.
What about then with James Rodriguez? He shouldn't have had that much space, should he?
No, I think Curtis Jones looked all right at times, but if you Curtis Jones, being from the city ourselves, you go, I'm going to go and mark him man for man. You know what I mean? I'm going to go and put a marker on him. You know, just being a young scout lad. Because he's obviously, you know, he's not fully developed yet. The lad's only 20 years of age. But that's what you think. You think, go and get on him. But I think if we have Fabinho at the CDM, I think that's a foregone conclusion. I think Fabinho just does it. I think Wijnaldum being there is playing a little bit of a part. To say looks disinterested, I don't know if I'm doing him a disservice by saying that, but I think the lad is struggling. I think they're all struggling, to be honest. But yeah, the midfield is just shocking at the minute. And I think, although Thiago's passing range is incredible, I don't think he's finding the range because he's got a different midfield three every week with him, pretty much.
He doesn't know what to do either, does he? In a sense of, like, if you think back to the first Everton game and the Chelsea game, Thiago had Hendo next to him. So he knew Hendo was going to do the track and back. He could just keep looking for them passes. And now, with, like you said, he's got different people every time. So it's like he doesn't know whether he's coming or going, if he's going back, if he's going forward.
Yeah, it's what we've had in the past. When it was Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum last year, when we were so good for 2 years, really. You'd find Henderson in the six and Fabinho bombing on sometimes, or Gini would drop back and Fabinho and Henderson were both bombing on or putting pressure on someone. They'd have that rapport, and it's muscle memory. It's built up, and it all comes back to the fact that we haven't got a centre half that's used to the club, used to the system. People call it excuses, but it's perfectly valid reasons, aren't just excuses. You know what I mean? Like we've said for years since Van Dijk came in, it's like he just settles everything, not just the back four or the back five. He settles everything, and once you remove him, remove his deputy in Joe Gomez, and remove the gazelle that is Joe Matip, it's a disaster waiting to happen. And I honestly think if Fabinho does come back soon, which it's looking like he will, let's put him in midfield and play Ben Davies. There's not much to lose in the league now. There's nothing to lose, actually. It's all, you've got to go balls to the wall. If you're going to do that, Ben Davies, he can distribute the ball. Just play both of them. Yeah. Just go Kabak, Davies. The only way they're going to get a little bit of rapport is if they play together anyway. Put Fabinho midfield so Thiago knows that he's going to cover this, cover that. And just switch between Milner and Thiago. Milner and Jones and Wijnaldum if he can be asked.
I've seen Carragher saying Liverpool need to drop 10 yards further back for the rest of the season. Would you agree with that?
Not particularly, because when we were fucking dire then as well. Against Burnley,
yeah.
I think we dropped 10 yards further back there. That didn't work against the biggest yard dog, long ball pumping side in the world. So it didn't work there. It didn't work against Brighton. We stepped it up a little bit against City, then dropped back after getting the goal. And we know what happened there. I think we kind of played the high line against Leicester. That was working until the capitulation. And it worked against Leipzig. I think we were on the front foot there. We pressed. Yeah. So playing dropping back and see what Carragher's in the old school. He wasn't the most skilled footballer, but his heart was always in the game, and he always gave 110% every week, didn't he? So you can see from his point of view as a proper old school defender that just loves to get stuck in. You can see why he'd do that personally, but that's just not the way. That's not the way Liverpool do it at all. And I think you can't. The way I talk to my mates about it, I say you've got to leave something for the injured players to come back to.
Yeah.
And if we go too far away from what we played like on the Van Dijk, don't be a system for them to come back to. They'll all have to relearn stuff. I think that worries me if we carry on sitting back and being cautious. So yeah, I don't think that's a good idea at all.
What do you think's up with the front three? Because in that Everton game, we conceded after 2 minutes. But last season, if that happened, you knew Liverpool could score up until the 91st, 92nd minute. And when we go behind this year, you just think game's done straight away. Yeah,
I think it's a big part of it, and I think other clubs have benefited and other clubs have suffered. I think that a big part of why we thought we were going to score was the fans. Having people in the grounds, like 50,000 people screaming at you, booing, jesting every time you touch the ball. Jordan Pickford had the game of his life the other day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he wouldn't if the cop was behind them. It's just simple, you know what I mean? They've been playing all right at home because they haven't got 40,000 people booing them there either, you know what I mean? So it's one of them, you know what I mean? But the players have got to think, well, the fans won't be gone forever. We've got to bring something, I don't see it said and done, we've got to bring something that they've got to come back to.
Yeah.
Imagine the fans coming back first game next season, after capacity or whatever, and it's an Europa League qualifying round or something. You know what I mean? It's just like it does a disservice to what the players have done for us and what the fans do in that stadium. It's on both ends of the scale. So yeah, I, like you say though, you're not shocked, and I think that's the most shocking thing that's come out of this season. But I wasn't surprised even when we got beat by Burnley.
Yeah.
I think the most surprising one was Southampton. I think that was the biggest. Okay, we've dropped points against West Brom and Newcastle, and then that one was sore. The Southampton one, I thought kick back on, and we didn't. We haven't quite. We've had some good performances, but a couple of wins spread out. But it speaks volumes that Thiago's played all 15 games for us and he's only won 4. Again, I don't think it's down to him, but it's just rough at the minute. So yeah.
What's worrying as well is, well, it's in a good sense, but also a bad sense. In the top 6 mini league, we've only lost to City, won all the others, and it's the lower teams that we're crumbling against.
Yeah, that's it. You look, well, you call it the top 6. It's not really the top 6, is it anymore? Because Arsenal like to finish 9th these days, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, you do look at that and you think we've still got to go to Old Trafford in April. But yeah, it's like Liverpool of old. Well, say Liverpool of old. It was only 2 or 3 years ago, 17, 18, 16, 17. We couldn't put a goal past. Like, we drew one all at home to Burnley. Like, and not long later, we beat Leicester at their gaff. You know what I mean? And in 17, 18, that is. But I think the home game before we drew 1-0 with Burnley, we beat Arsenal 4-0, something like that. And it was that back and forth. But we were accustomed to it, so it wasn't quite the same disappointment as it is now. But what we have now is that our mentality is accustomed to one of the best teams our dads and granddads have ever seen.
Yeah. And
now this is happening again. So it's almost like, I was saying, someone the other week, it's almost comforting. It reminds me of growing up, just the inconsistency and the frustration. And I think that's just it. When I was less frustrated after the Everton game when we got beat than when we drew against West Ham away in 18-19. I remember thinking after West Ham away, we drew 2 games in a month. Drew 2 games. That was it. And I was like, the title's gone. And after the Everton game, I was like,
top 4 is gone.
Yeah.
But it is the fans though, isn't it? Because when you look back at the start of when football resumed again, we had Everton first game, most boringest 0-0 you'll ever see. The only time we've really played well this season is when we've had a few thousand fans in the ground, isn't it? Like the Tottenham game, I think the Leicester game we had a few thousand in as well. And then that's why we were top of Christmas. Like, people are thinking, oh, you've only fell off since Christmas, but we've been crap whenever there's been no fans in, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, because I think we still had a little bit of an order about Anfield. Like, you go back to last season and beat Palace 4-0 just before winning the league. I think that was my first appearance on here, actually. And it was like, there was still that essence around it. But once people started to click that you haven't got the people on your back, it's become very predictable, really, hasn't it? Yeah, it's not no one's not said before, and rival fans will watch this and go, they're coming up with excuses and all that. But it is important, and I think it says a lot about our attitude in the ground that the players are missing it so much. But I think that the mentality monsters should be able to pull through that.
But that's why if you look at the Premier League this year, isn't it got more away wins than home wins for everyone? Like, everyone who's going away, obviously they're used to just blocking out the noise, where all the home teams are crumbling because they haven't got the fans.
Well, it's the first time in history that's ever happened. So it's the most banana season that we'll ever see. So maybe this year should really have the asterisk next to it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's not only that. I think the manifestation, the loud knobheads. We were talking about this last night a little bit. Sometimes fans just have a similar, viewpoint on it all because of we've had similar experiences growing up together with it. But there'll be fans from all over the world. They've only supported teams for 3 years, and they call it the Klopp's head, and all sorts. But those people, when we were having rough patches under Klopp, when we were out on the ground, just got shut up because we just sing his name, and then that'll be it. You know what I mean? But we're not in the ground with them, and it's they must read it. If we can see it, they can see it, surely. And I think that must be a factor as well. I think the social media idiots are louder than ever because there's no one to drown them off.
Well, people are saying obviously it's excuses with like all our injuries and stuff. If you look at Manchester City last season, they fall off because they had the 100-point season, then they got 98, was it, when they went toe-to-toe with us? And then they just fell off last season, and they were missing Laporte, they were missing De Bruyne for large chunks of the season. And it's no surprise that now this season they're flying again. But Liverpool last season at this point were still would have been 20 points clear of City's where they are now. So even they've lost games, even they haven't been unbelievable. But people are noticing our drop off more when City's was probably worse when they dropped off last season.
Yeah, I think overall, I know if you look at the stats, we got 99 compared to their 100 points, but we reached bigger heights. There's we won something like out of the first 80 games, didn't we win 28?
Yeah.
Then drew 1 and then lost to Watford, something like that. It was just insane. It was so I City fans still. I still see City fans talking about that, going, "Oh, well, we lost Laporte." I was like, "Well, he's not as good as Van Dijk, one, and he's been crying about it all season. This time last year, he was back in the team for a month.
Yeah,
but when he came back, he dropped 25 points. So which one is it? Is it like if he had that much of an impact, which they said for the last 18 months, then surely losing 3 centre halves has a similar impact. But they won't admit that because you don't give any leeway, do you? Really? Let's be honest. If it was the other way round, I'd be going, "That's no excuse." It's just the way footy is, isn't it? You know what I mean? We're all bastards.
It's not just centre half though, is it? Because you're losing your midfield. Like we've lost that midfield would never have started this season. Our strongest midfield's Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago probably, and we haven't seen it really. We've seen it at the start of the season. But when you've got Fabinho going in centre back, Henderson going in centre back, your whole spine of your team's messed up, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's where I think the front three is suffering more than most. But one thing that has become apparent is that Salah's still banging in goals, and he's almost become more for the team. I've noticed him passing a bit more, being less greedy, and he's managed to score more goals from it. I never thought I'd say this, but I think Bobby's just not quite there anymore. Yeah. And I think he might just be because of his background, being from Brazil and a very cultural and just such a passionate nation, and that I think a part of it might be that he thrives off the crowd. Maybe his legs are just gone because he's run about 4,000 miles over the last 2 seasons. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I think still keep the subjects come up loads. Do need to get rid of one of the front three. Personally, in an ideal world, I wouldn't sell any of them. I'd just leave Bobby out for Jota.
Yeah,
and make sure he gets 60% of the game time he's getting now, so he's more effective. A bit like how we've managed James Milner over the years. But can FSG sit there and look themselves in the mirror and go, "We can leave this asset on the bench, let Klopp do that, gamble on a man that we've already invested in, Jota, or do we cash in for 80-90 million for Bobby Firmino as a league and Champions League winner? Someone desperate will want to get him. PSG will buy him for 80 million if Mbappe goes, or Barca will get him if Messi needs to go.
Even Dortmund, if Haaland goes, they'll need a number 9, won't they?
I think he'd be brilliant for Dortmund, actually. I think that's because he's played in Germany before, and I didn't think about that, you know. I've been thinking about suitors for him and that. But yeah, I think that would be a good move for him. Maybe bring Haaland the other way.
Before we go on to that,
yeah,
on the Derby game, Wijnaldum got made captain when Henderson went off. Do you think that was a good decision, or do you think it should have maybe went to someone like Salah? Because to me, it screams a little bit like Coutinho when we knew he was going and we were giving him the captain's armband, and it's just like, being the captain of this club should be an honour. And I'm not saying Gini doesn't see it as an honour, but if he's going, why aren't we giving it to players who are committed to the club?
Well, the players voted on it a few years back, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because we've always had Henderson and Milner, and I think Henderson was out injured and Milner was just about to come back or something like that. What meant to be the other way around. But Klopp put it to the players, said, "Well, all right, then use your third and fourth in command." I don't think they just voted on who's third in command, and Van Dijk won by about that much, and Gini was just behind, which was a surprise to me because I didn't know he'd be that much of a character in the dressing room. But the players speak for themselves, don't they? So I think it just comes back to that. I think he's also been here. He's been here longer than Salah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's put in a good 5 years now at the club, and it just feels like it's gone so quick. But I don't know. It's well documented that there's that core four captains, if you like, and when you're the only one left on the pitch and you are the fourth captain, it does speak a lot about, you know, the leadership in the dressing room. Like, you know, if we've lost that leadership, who's stepping up? And I think when Fabinho comes back, I think he'll be more vocal than ever. To be honest, I was thinking about who's ready to do that in the squad without Henderson, Milner or Van Dijk. And I think when Fabinho, I think the adversity he's come up against this season, playing centre half, is been one of the best centre backs in the league, and I'm not taking the piss when I say that. He's been one of the best centre halves in the league. So, him excelling like that, I think he might be ready for that step up. I think you have got a case for playing to giving the armband to Salah or whatever, but I don't think he's that kind of player. And there was that whole situation with Midtjylland, wasn't it, where apparently he had a huff on, and but I think that was just silly season because it was just before January.
Even Robertson, though, he's captain of Scotland, isn't he? And he's dead vocal when you listen to it. Even more so now, when obviously there's no fans in the ground, you can just hear him screaming across the pitch. I think as a captain, you need someone like that. You need someone like Jamie Carragher, because I know Gerrard weren't vocal, but he had Carragher behind him. So where Henderson's quite vocal or Van Dijk quite vocal, I think Liverpool at the minute need that vocal captain, and for me, it'd be Robertson all day.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he's. We all love Robbo because even without the fans in the ground, he does them 50-yard runs, pressing everything down, and go back to the derby the other day. I think Robbo and Trent were like two dimly shining lights in what was a pretty poor performance overall. I think they found their mojo and realised their own importance a bit more and gone, if we can kick on, if we can just keep doing our thing, chances will come eventually. Leadership-wise, I think Robbo's a shout. I think Fabinho, obviously, a shout. I think Thiago's quite vocal on the pitch. He's a bit of a. I didn't expect this because you think Spanish culture midfield, you think Xavi, Iniesta, but he's a bit of a bastard, isn't he?
Yeah.
I like that, Yeah. I like that he's just stuck in and he's like in people's faces, and there's a bit of needle through him and Endo. Obviously, it's sorted 5 minutes later, and the Daily Mail and those who shall not be named have already written a headline about it, but they've already sorted it. It's just a bit of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They care. But yeah, I think the fact that we have to sit here and say, who's our next 3 leaders, just speaks volumes, because it's not a conversation that happened this time last year, is it?
It's sad. Looking ahead then to sell players going and stuff. Obviously, Gini's apparently, it's come out today that Gini wants to stay, but if he does go, do you think we're going to dip into the market for someone, or do you think there's a replacement in the club for him?
I think with a fully fit back four, I don't think we need to get rid. I think we've been priming Curtis Jones for that midfield role anyway. And I think in Klopp said he's gone. At the time when we brought Jones through, Gini was down to his last 18 months. Henderson and Milner aren't getting any younger. I think Thiago was more the like-for-like Lallana replacement. Not like-for-like because he's better than Lallana, but that kind of creative, that little sneaky ball, the footwork. I think he saw Curtis Jones' energy and thought, well, he can replace whoever's the next to go, whether Henderson drops off or Gini leaves. I think it might depend on whether we finish in the top 4, actually. I think it might depend on if we win the Champions League. If we've got Champions League football next year, they might go and get him Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio or someone along that line. We'll never go and get Frenkie de Jong or who else is like that, them names, or Verratti. We'll never be able to get someone like that because they still won't dip that much into the pool. I've had a little theory on FSG for a while. I know some people have sounded dead spoilt on the FSG out train and stuff like that, but they're the perfect owners for somebody who wants to be one of the biggest clubs in the world, but they're not if you already are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they've got us back to that. We weren't the biggest club in the world. We were on our knees. We were in financial ruin. We were a fallen giant, a bit like AC Milan a couple of years ago. And they brought us up to that level. But they can't. I don't think they can sustain it, because I'm pretty sure Boston Red Sox won the World Series a few years back and haven't won it since.
Yeah.
And I think it's a similar pattern. I think they've seen Liverpool as a project. Anyway, they could sell us for over $1 billion if they wanted to some random oil company. And it's slightly off topic, but to go on to the ethics of that, it's mad and over. When it comes down to replacements, it's really, you can never tell, and they're putting so much emphasis on the fact that we have lost nearly £100 million here because of not having fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
And personally, in the past, I've underestimated that myself. I haven't thought about that as much, but when you realise it's something like 3 or 4 mil a match day just in tickets, and then you think, well, how many hot dogs and burgers and whatever are getting sold, it adds up. So I don't personally see them dipping in for that. I think if Gini goes and we sell one of the front three, we probably get a world-class forward and do with what midfielders we've got.
Do you think that's why they've been trying to sell us a part of us then? Because there was that bill there with the Moneyball. Do you think that that's pretty the reason FSG are doing it, to generate more money for Liverpool? Or do you think that they could potentially even just sell us? If we get Champions League football this year, it's going to be a massive achievement. Do you think they could maybe sell us in the summer?
I think they'd probably, if we got Champions League this year, that if they were going to sell up, I think they'd probably see the summer through and protect the asset, and then announce it when the window's done and say by next season there'll be new owners in, so everything's in place. Because there's a lot of, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of organisation to go into passing it over. Who's going to reprise the roles? Who's going to, be let go and all that. I do think that's the end game, though. I do think they want to sell up at some point, surely, because they're not young men anymore either, are they? You know what I mean? Like, at some point they're going to go, do I want to, take $500 million home each on top of our already massive wealth and just live out the rest of the 10, 15 years they got left in luxury? You know what I mean? Not that they're not going to do that anyway, but I don't think they see this. It's not a passion project because they love Boston Red Sox, and if they're falling off a cliff, not falling off a cliff, but if they're falling away a little bit after winning the World Series, then how can they sustain this club? And I'm not saying I'm not thankful for what they've done, because I absolutely am. We've won trophies under them now. They invested when we needed to with Van Dijk, but they only invested in that because they wanted to become
the best.
One of the best, yeah.
But my only frustration with FSG is, I'm not one of the FSG out brigade in a sense of, I like the fact like they've given us the main stand. They're probably going to extend the Annie Road. That's all in place, even if they did sell us. The likes of Van Dijk and Alisson and Brink and Klopp in. I thank them for all that, but my biggest frustration is Liverpool would have been the most dominant in the market when we've just won a Champions League. We didn't really go and buy anyone massive. And when we've just won the league, we went and got Thiago and Jota, but we didn't go and get like a world superstar, someone like Mbappe or someone like Haaland. And now this season, we could potentially end the season not in the Champions League, and then who's going to want to come to us?
Yeah, so it's a point that, because nothing about Thiago or Jota screams marquee, does it?
No.
The last time we were all properly over a signing was Van Dijk, weren't it? And that's, you're coming up to 3.5 years ago now. Well, just over 3. But yeah, I think you're right there. I think we had building blocks to go push on from, and it comes back to the fact that they're running a proper financial model. Let's get that right. We spent a lot of money on Van Dijk, Keita, Fabinho, a bit on Shaqiri, but none of them were upfront fees because Michael Edwards is really good at his job. Okay. So what he does, he goes, here's 20 million each. If he does this, you get this much. If he does this, you get this much. But you're guaranteed 50 at the end of it anyway. But you just might get 70 if we win all this. So it's like it's one of them, innit? It's just plucking numbers out the air there, by the way. But you get the point, don't you? So it's like we invested so much that we still owe money, and Klopp understood that as well at the time. But I think this January, Klopp looked at the end of his tether a little bit.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him like that with the owners before. It's got tiny elements of Rafa, Hicks, Gillette in the end of that. But I don't think it'll ever result in that, because Michael Edwards is far too good at his job to be able to, you know what I mean? He'll find someone somewhere. He'll probably get Mbappe for 5 million. You know what I mean? Nah, it's one of them, innit? You know what I mean? Like, we all know the system. It works to a point, and the club's in a financially healthy place. But if there's fans allowed in the gaff and all that, but They've done wonders with the Nike deal as well. Let's be honest, 10% of everything going to the club. We've never had a deal like that in anything.
No one has.
In any football.
It's
You know what I mean?
first club to have a deal like that, isn't it? Where they get them 10% of everything.
But yeah, like I don't think anyone's got anything like that, is it? Like no. to be able to, for both parties to sit there and go, this is a thing. Like Nike being sure that they're going to make so much money that they can just give 10% of it away. And Liverpool having the big brass balls to go, well, if you're going to sell that much, we want 10% of it because it could easily be 20, 30 million on top of what you give us.
It's crazy numbers. With FSG, though, when they come in, they did actually say it was always a project for them. So I do think they will sell in a few years. But people have already quickly ruled out Haaland and Mbappe to Liverpool. Now, FSG's model's always been to buy young in case they do sell them. They can sell them for a profit. So thinking of that, do you think Haaland or Mbappe is doable?
Well, yeah, in a way, because aren't both their contracts running down soon anyway?
Yeah, well, Haaland's got a €75 million release clause next year.
Start off 60 mil.
Yeah, and then Mbappe's up next year, I think.
Well, yeah, it depends, doesn't it? Because you think, well, you could get a cut price for Mbappe, but PSG, they don't need the money. So they could just say, well, if he wants to leave, he can go on a free, and Real Madrid can just give him 150 million. You know what I mean? Because he could demand that. He could just, as a sign-on fee, he could just rake it in and box himself off. I think we're more likely to sign like a Reina from Dortmund rather than a Haaland. You know what I mean? I think we're more likely to get one of them players, and people won't be happy at the time, but they'll turn out to be whale beaters because as long as we've got Jurgen Klopp at the helm, there'll always be world-class players being produced at the club.
It's like Jota, innit? I'll hold my hands up and say when we bought him, I was like, what, 40 million for him? I don't even think he's that good, and then he's just shut everyone up this season.
What I liked about him is that he had a European hat-trick in him. And he scored something like 3 Europa League hat-tricks for Wolves. I think one was against like Espanyol or Getafe or something like that. And I thought he'll be good. Bring them on in Europe, he'll be brilliant. And then he scored the hat-trick against Atalanta. I was like, okay, I didn't think he'd be that good, but do what you got to do, lad.
We've missed him as well, haven't we, this season? I think if Klopp didn't make the stupid mistake of playing him in that Michelin game, don't think we'd be in the position we're in this season.
I don't like to doubt Jurgen that much, but that was like you say, that was a bit of a blunder, that one. We were top of the league when he got injured.
Yeah.
By some way, I think it was about 3 or 4 points. We were clear at the top.
6 at Christmas. The next game. 6 points clear. We was at Christmas.
Yeah, that was the past game just before Crimbo.
Yeah,
it was. And then on my birthday on the 27th, we played. It was West Brom, and that's when it slowly fizzled, didn't it? But we have missed him. He's a massive, massive miss. I think you know what? I think he becomes world class in the next couple of years. You know, and I think it maybe what he does over the next couple of years determines what next front three member goes away. Whether he wants to play that creative Bobby role, or whether he looks at that left wing and goes, I will cut in and score all the goals. You know, if he scores 15 goals, come off the bench, and Mane gets less than that starting,
they're going to end up swapping.
There's the decision made. You know what I mean?
Well, Mbappe's apparently come out this week and said that if he leaves, he only wants to play left wing. Doesn't want to play right wing, doesn't want to play down the middle. But all I keep thinking about Mbappe is he's a Nike athlete. And Nike will sell more shirts with Mbappe on at Liverpool than they will at PSG. So it's been done before. Didn't Cristiano Ronaldo get funded to go to, was it Real Madrid or someone by Adidas or something like that?
Well, he's a Nike athlete himself, Ronaldo. So,
or was it United he went to and they give money? It just definitely happened in the past where a player's been funded by the shirt manufacturer, like even if it's his wages or.
It might have even been Bale to Real Madrid because he's Adidas and they're Adidas, aren't they? And it's weird with Nike and Adidas because they don't want to step on each other's toes, really, do they? Like, I feel like Adidas would have gone for us if Man United had Puma, but because they had Adidas, they just didn't. even though we got a long history with them, and they could have made all sorts of money on classic kits. They just don't go there.
Yeah.
If a massive rival's got the other one's kit, they just won't go there. Same with Barca and Madrid. When was the last time you seen Barcelona had Adidas kits way back, but they just haven't since Real Madrid have.
Adidas, haven't they?
So I think I know what you're saying. I can't remember who it was, but it might have been Ronaldo to Real Madrid to Man United. But I'm not sure he had a big deal back then anyway, because he only was 18, weren't he? But yes, I think I wouldn't mind Nike doing it. If Nike just went, look, we're going to front 120 million, you 550 in add-ons to bring who looks like he's the heir apparent to. He almost looks a bit like Cristiano Ronaldo, an original Ronaldo moulded into one. The man is just a machine. He scored past us when he was about 12. It's if they did, I'd be made up. I would feel a bit weird. Don't care. To be honest with you, if you go and do what you got to do to get the best players in the world at the club, and say Sadio he'll get another big move. Man, he'll probably might go the other way. I was talking with Bobby earlier, going to PSG or Dortmund. He might just go the other way.
Well, with Mbappe, I don't think with Real Madrid the skins at the minute, and Barcelona are on the verge of liquidation as well, aren't they? But all I keep thinking is, what Nike will not want Mbappe playing in an Adidas kit. He's like their poster. He's like the LeBron James of football for Nike, isn't he? And if he goes to Real Madrid, he's going to be plastered around in an Adidas branded kit, and I just don't think Nike would want that.
Well, if you look at the amount of clubs out there that can actually feasibly afford them, talk Bayern, Liverpool, City, United, PSG. Let's talk Real Madrid and Barca, for example. And when you say Barcelona in liquidation, so let's move them to the side. There's 2 night clubs there, and one of them he's already playing for. You know what I mean? We've joked Mbappe 2020, Mbappe 2021. It might just be a thing now. You never know. I'd love it to be, but again, I won't be exactly gutted if he doesn't, because it's a bit of a pipe dream. Yeah. We're all admitting it to ourselves. It's a bit of a pipe dream, isn't it?
I think the one who's most realistic would be Haaland, with maybe Bobby going the other way. I mean, there's a good chance he could end up going to United because of the Oli link, but I think out the two of them, I think I prefer Haaland, because his height on the end of Trent and Robbo's balls would be unbelievable. He's unbelievable on the ball himself. He was banging all the goals in for Salzburg, and everyone said, can he do it on the world stage? Goes to Dortmund and does it there. I think he's scored more Champions League goals than most players now. He scored like 23 goals in 18 games ever in the Champions League. He's just... him and Mbappe are going to be the next Messi and Ronaldo in my eyes in terms of like Ballon d'Ors every other year, but if you can get him for 70 million, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? He's, 21? And with FSG's policy, you can sell him on.
I think he's younger than Mbappe, and Mbappe's not long term 22, so I think he might even still be 20, I personally, I always lean towards Mbappe, but this might just be one of them age-old debates that we're not used to yet. Like, Messi and Ronaldo, we're almost bored of that conversation, aren't we? But it just depends on what mood you wake up in that day sometimes, or what do you like in a player. And I think that'll just go on with them too. I'm sure if we get Haaland, there'll be people crying saying we should have got Mbappe, and vice versa. If we can get either of them, it'll be a big statement. I don't think we'll end up with either of them, no, personally. And if we do, I'll be happy to be proven wrong. But I do think we're more likely to get a Reina from Dortmund, like I say. I think he's a nice athlete himself as well, especially with the American model. Isn't he American as well? I think that's why we looked at Pulisic.
There's also another one, that Rodrigo de Paul, isn't there? I can't think where he plays. We've been looking at him. He plays in some mad league. And then also there's Patson Daka from Salzburg, the one who banged us in the pre-season.
Yeah, well, there's another Rodrigo playing for Real Madrid. They've just said, because they're, like you're talking about their financial situation, they've just said, we will let him go, even though he looks like he could be amazing. We've kind of got to, because they won't, for whatever reason, they won't trust him over Benzema, who's about 300 years old. So I think his release close to €50 million, and I think he was kind of getting looked at last summer. So that might be another reform. He's Brazilian as well. So do Bobby, Alisson and Fabinho have a little influence on that? We'll wait to see, won't we?
Or even Vinicius Junior. I'm sure I've seen that they'll let him go as well. And he does look like he's going to be world class.
Oh yeah, they've got some proper raw talent there. I think the fact that they're looking at getting rid of these young lads and keeping Eden Hazard and Benzema, and he's still got Bale on the books somewhere. Tottenham can't be paying all those wages, and they're trying to get rid of Rodrigo and Vinicius and players like that. And I think the only player they've actually let drop off the squad is Modric. He hasn't really played that much. I think that that's a disaster waiting to happen at Real Madrid, and long may it continue, really, let's be honest. But they're doing what Barcelona have done, and they've watched Barcelona do it,
and doing it,
and they've copied it, and it's just the worst thing he could have done, because they've been held by the balls by Messi now. They let Suarez go, who was world class still.
Mad for 2 million.
It's just like, what are you doing? Like, between the two of them, they won something like 6 European Cups on the bounce from 2014 to 2018, something like that.
Well, the thing last time Barcelona done that was when they let David Villa go to Atletico Madrid, and then Atletico Madrid won the league the following year, and it's looking like it's going to happen again.
It probably, yeah. I mean, Atletico have dropped off somewhat, but in the last couple of weeks they got draws against teams they shouldn't have, but they still got games in hand, and if they can win that, you think they're about 5-6 points clear, aren't they? So it does look like history might repeat itself there. But if history does repeat itself, then it means Real Madrid will win the Champions League this year. And I don't see that happening, to be honest, because who else they played in the midweek was Atalanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, they looked alright, but they didn't look Real
Took
Madrid.
them to like the 88th minute, I think, to score a goal.
That was it. It was a very late winner. They'll go through. Unless they do what they did against Ajax the other year. They beat them in Amsterdam, and that was it. We've won this, you know what I mean? So, it's... I'll never understand either of those clubs for the rest of my days. They're both just mad. I think I can relate more to Man United, to be honest with you, than either of them, because they're just bonkers, aren't they?
While Barca are in financial distress, though, I'd look at some of their kids, like Ansu Fati or Pedri or people like that. Like they need to sell players, and even if they get rid of Messi, they're nearly £1 billion in debt, aren't they? Because they've had this TV money's gone from Spain now. They've obviously had no tourists in the ground for nearly a year. They're on the verge of like really going kaput, really, and I think that's why Koeman's still got his job, because they can't afford to sack another manager.
Ronald Koeman's in charge. He wasn't good enough for the Ev, like, you know what I mean. And to be fair to Everton, they've gone and got a world class manager in Ancelotti. But like the fact that Ancelotti's at Everton and Ronald Koeman and essentially Real Madrid's Castilla B-side manager, they're still in charge. I know Zidane did bits in the Champions League, but he's not a world class manager by any means. You know what I mean? It's it's just a bit crazy at the minute. And football's just a bit upside down. And Real Madrid Atletico Madrid have reaped the rewards of actually keeping Diego Simeone in a job and trusting the man to do what he does. He's probably the only world class manager in Spain.
Yeah, hands down. Do you think we can win the Champions League this year then? Speaking of other European clubs, like Van Dijk, people are saying he's out for the season, but why would we include him in the Champions League squad?
It's one of them. We included Ox in the squad, and he got about 20 minutes, didn't he? I think it was, I don't know. In fact, no, I don't think he played, but he was in the squad he was like on the bench for the final in 2019 or something like that, and he had that injury all year as well.
Van Dijk's on the grass before anyone, isn't he? Yeah, he's training. You know, he's not contact training yet, but he's training on the grass at Kirby, and he only got injured about 5 months ago. It's just crazy. But if he's back for the business end of the Champions League, like if we get through this game against Leipzig, which I think we probably will, and then he's back for like that business end of the season, why not?
I think we can win it if he does, or if we get Davis playing with Kabak. One of those two things has to happen. If neither of those things happen, dare I say it, Man City will win it.
You think, yeah?
They look like the only team in Europe who've got a spine at the minute. Because Bayern have been shaky, but no one in Germany can mount a title challenge against them for some reason. Like, they should be smelling blood here because Bayern haven't been the best this season. He dropped off a little bit after the treble. A bit like what they did in 2014 after winning the treble in 2013. I know it smelled blood there either. PSG look disjointed at times. Sometimes look at the team and haven't heard of half the players. And I know that doesn't mean much, but
Moise Keane gets a game for them.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, and Neymar's, it was his sister's birthday the other day, so he'll be out for another month while he's doing what he does with her. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the world of football. I think if you told me Atalanta would go on to win, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And he just got beat by Real Madrid, so I think we can win it. But I'm not holding my breath, but I've got hope.
I think it's our best chance of getting Champions League football again next year. That was winning it this year.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think Klopp might have it's just come over me now. I haven't thought about this in depth. People might be able to prove me wrong, but it looks as if he's got a Champions League model and a Premier League model because the way we went after Leipzig,
it was the best performance I've seen all season.
Yeah, probably. I think since maybe Tottenham the first time round was up there, but I think it's an absolute shout to say that because Leipzig are a good side. Let's be honest, they did Man United over. They ran toe to toe in that group. Yeah. You know what I mean? They were no pushovers, apart from when they got mullered by United at home. But like, they've still been a good side, but they've always had that getting battered in them. And I was fearful. Sabitzer is a class act. You know what I mean? So yeah, like the way we turned them over with no confidence before the game and stuff like that did surprise me. But I was like, there could be something in this. Maybe he's just reserving the squad. Maybe it's a 15-16 style. Let's just do whatever we can, put whatever we can on the pitch in the league and go for the European place.
I think we'll still get top four. Like, West Ham's next run of 9 games is horrendous. Every time Everton's had a chance to go above us this season, since they won the league in the start after 2 games, they haven't.
Yeah, but you're bound to drop off after you win the league, though, aren't you, lads?
Yeah. But they haven't been able to go above us. So I do think maybe this game on the weekend kicks us on because it's, in my eyes, it's 3 points, isn't it? Sheffield United, bottom of the league. Surely it's got to be 3 points.
Surely it has, yeah, but
it's just got Ryan Brewster 91st minute winning written all over it, hasn't it?
Oh, that's that bad, you know. It stinks of, like, you know, again, I think we've barely strung a point together against them bottom sides, haven't we? So it's I haven't even thought about it that much. I really haven't. It's gonna have Chris Wilder parking that bus as firmly as he can. The back 5 with like Egan and Fleck and Lundstrom and Sanderberger will be in there somewhere. Just physicality, hard work, and they're not a terrible side. They're just championship level players, really, aren't they? But with a little bit of quality sprinkled in there. But they all try hard. I'll predict the Liverpool win, like, you know what I mean? I never, even after this run, I've never predicted us to get beat. But I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be a tough one. I think if it's not tight, we do just go on and rinse them. I think we're due to do that to someone. But we kind of rinsed West Ham and Tottenham, and they didn't really do much afterwards, you know what I mean? So we'll wait and see. I think the depends who starts as well. Like, we don't even know who's fit and available for this game, and if we don't know, I'm sure Klopp doesn't know either.
I think it's the perfect game to start Ben Davies, though. I think out of all the, if we got Chelsea on Thursday after this, I don't think Ben Davies could start against Chelsea. But against Sheffield United, I think it's the perfect game to let him and Kabak have a go. Ben Davies can distribute the ball. Kabak's good at aerial duels. Ben Davies is good at aerial duels. And I think against a team like Sheffield United, you need people who are good in the air because they're a quite physical side. They'll try and win the balls, knock them down to Brewster running on them. So I think it's the perfect game to start them two in. And if them two start, then you know Fabinho's he's probably going to be back. So he's then going to be in the holding role to give them that extra bit of cover. which then allows the front to go more attacking. And I can't see anything other than Jota starting because he's been in training since Tuesday. Klopp likes usually 3 days of contact training before he starts them, and he would have had 6. So
yeah, 100%. Like when you talk about Davies, it's like if he doesn't, like you say, if he doesn't start there, he can't start against Chelsea, and all of a sudden you've only got 11 games left. And when you're bedding them in, it probably takes 2 or 3 to be bedded in. So what's the point in even signing the lad if you weren't going to put him in? I think the plan was to put him in earlier, to be honest, but he had that little niggling injuries, didn't he? To add to the centre half initially list. It's just the culture of the club. You've got to make yourself fit in somewhere. And he's looked at Van Dijk and he's looked at Gomez and Matip and he's thought, I want a bit of that. I'll get injured for a bit. So yeah, he's got to come in today. He's got. I don't care even if his first start is against Chelsea. I'm at that point now where I'm just like, just put him in. I don't care when it is. Just start the lad and see what he can do. Trust the man. Put your arm around him and go, look, I trust you. Go and do what you got to do. Loads of people are doubting you. You played for Preston. No one thinks you can do it. Go and prove them wrong, lad. You've got a decent young centre half next year. You're his leader now. Be his leader. Go and play the football. You've got Andy Robertson next year. Trent Alexander-Arnold. These are Champions League and league winners. Go and show them what you can do. Go and show your teammates what you can do. If they don't, and if he's too cautious, we might just not finish in the top 4 and not build enough momentum to win the Champions League. This is crunch time now. This was go and put your balls to the wall. Go and put all pinpoint everything into attack. Because we've signed to a Championship defender and a defender who was about to get relegated in Germany. It's just go and play the system, and if they fall short, the 2 lads pick them back up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They're not here forever. We don't have to go and spend 70 million on a centre half in the summer. We've got our 70 million pound centre half.
Go for Rans away or for free. Get him.
Well, if we're putting wishes on anything, like, you know what I mean, I wouldn't mind. But yeah, you know what I mean. Just go and do it. That's been my thing for a little while now. Just go and do it, and whether it could come down to what's going on in Klopp's head, like the man's grieving, and to come onto it in a way. There's what's happened with Alisson this week as well, and
they both haven't been able to go home.
Well, that's it. Like it's you can't even imagine the situation either have been placed in. But in a weird way, they might find a comfort in each other, in a sense. You know what I mean? It might be Klopp's already gone through that in a way, and he's had some time to reflect and to, have a little think about it and get a grasp on how he's feeling. He might just be the perfect man to be around Alisson right now, and it might just strengthen the bond of them and therefore the squad. But it might also have the opposite effect on the lads, and he might just need to not play for a bit. You know what I mean? He knows it's so sudden, and it was in his holiday home, so you can only assume Alisson played a part in buying him the holiday home because of his money and all that. And God knows what's going on in his head. It's so tragic for the lad and his family.
His wife's 7 months pregnant as well, isn't he? So then he's probably thinking of that. Like, me next kid's not going to see his granddad, and again, not going home for the funeral. I think Liverpool said he could have went, but then if he came back, he would have had to isolate. And then if his wife goes into labour, he can't go into labour with her because he's in isolation. Yeah. And I've seen something that there's a gap in the schedule, isn't there, in a few weeks where I think there was meant to be an international break. I think he was going to go home then, but I can't even begin to imagine losing my parents and not being able to go to the funeral like that, and then be expected to play a game of football. It's just, you couldn't do it, could you?
I was talking to a mate about it just straight after I found out yesterday, and I think called it rough, and he went, I don't even think that sums it up. He said, I don't think there's a way you can sum up what that lad's feeling. I don't even think he can. And I think if he was still at the top of his... He's not at the top of his game, but he's had the odd blunder, hasn't he? Yeah. You know what I mean? In the recent weeks. So going from that, again, it could build on from it. but he could collapse. And I think the only person who can answer the question of whether he's starting this weekend is Alisson Becker.
Yeah.
Klopp will put it to him, because Klopp couldn't look him in the eye and say, I'm not going to start you, after he carries on through it all. So, like, if you're leading by example, it might feel like it's slightly hypocritical. I'd feel like it would be. So Klopp's kind of, even if he wants to take him out, he might have tied his own hands here by doing what he's done and being strong in what he's done. I said myself, Klopp shouldn't have been there for a couple of weeks. Get Pep Lijnders in there, just get Klopp at home with his missus and just chill out for a bit, just have a little reflect. But it's such an insane thing to be thinking about. Like, we're sat here talking about two of our most important figures in the squad losing two of the closest people ever, more formative people in their lives. You know, Klopp is the youngest of three kids, I think he said, so mum would have been a big part of him. Alisson being a lad and being close to his dad and whatever, all that happening in these circumstances, not being able to see them and stuff like that, I think just adds to the fact that this is the most insane period of my life as a Liverpool fan, and it'll never stop surprising me, really, because just when you think you've seen it all, like, two players go through something like that, and you end up stop caring as much for how the club perform and the team perform, in a way, because you're like, are they all right though? You know what I mean? As long as they're all right mentally, I'm not really that bothered what happened, this kind of thing. And it's like, brings that human element back to it, doesn't it?
So, speaking of that then, who do you think starts on Sunday?
You do think, or would I rather? Is it?
What do you think the starting lineup is on your score prediction?
I think, I think he does go Kabak Davis. I think he has to, because I don't think Fabinho's quite ready yet. If Fabinho is ready, he plays him in centre half. Obviously, I do think he'll play Alisson. I think Trent and Robbo, obviously. I think he's probably got no choice but to play Thiago, Wijnaldum, Jones. And as you say, I think he does bring Jota in as well, but thinking, who does he bring him in for? Because I think Salah starts.
I think it'll probably be Jota on the left, wouldn't it? Salah on the right, and Mane maybe down the middle. Or Mane on the right.
Mane likes a little right wing thing. Maybe we just need to do that. I think that's a shout. I think that'll be it, to be honest. I think Salah down the middle, Mane on the right and Jota on the left. Not only does it bring in a fresh player, gives them two lads a fresh perspective from where they're playing on the pitch. Places where they played before. Mane started his career at Liverpool on the right wing and was brilliant. You know what I mean? He's been brilliant for years. Salah at that period in 18-19 where he played up front for a bit, didn't he? Because he was struggling on the wing a bit. They were double teaming him, so Mane went on the right and we had Bobby on the left almost and Shaqiri behind, and they were just rotating it while Salah stuck there. So maybe it just does need that little change up. Creativity wise, I think Jota and Robbo have got a decent little rapport there as well, and I think Sheffield United could suffer for that. But I think on the flip side, if you put Mane on the right hand side, I think Trent doesn't have the same connection with Mane, because when Mane was on that right hand side, we had Nathaniel Klein on the side. So I think you're right. I think that's the side he probably does. It's probably not what I'd do. I'd go like for like and play Jota in the 9 and bring Bobby out. But I think it could that front three. I think that in that position it could open up.
There's even a case for dropping Mane, isn't there? Really, because he hasn't been that good in recent weeks. Yeah,
but if you drop Mane and Firmino does what he's done over the last couple of weeks,
it's disastrous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Mane's, even when he's shit, he has that burst, and he has this. And when Bobby's lost it, his touch is gone. He can't hit the band, or you know what I mean. When Bobby's gone, he's gone. When Mane's gone, he can still score.
Yeah.
And when Salah's gone, he does score. So, like, it's unfair on Bobby because he's probably the best footballer out of the three of them, but when he relies on form more than anyone because he's not a finisher.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd say might happen is I don't think he'll start Davies. I think it'll probably be Nat Phillips and Kabak.
Forgot about Phillips, to be honest. I don't think he was that bad against Everton, to be fair.
I don't think he's been bad all year, has he? People just don't want him to play, but I can't think of a bad performance he's had. And when he does play, when he come on in a derby, he was solid. He's
been shaky at times, like when we've played the high line, and I think that's where it comes in. If my theory is right and Klopp does do the I'll just cope in the league, let's not go for this. Probably does play Phillips and play 10 yards deeper. But if he wants to build the momentum, like I think he should, I think you've got to play Davis. And I think Phillips is a decent backup, let's be honest. He's not a bad lad, you know what I mean? He's good at what he does. Same with Reece Williams, you know, he's very, very young, but there's still opportunities there for him one day to kick on. I think he runs like he's got a parachute on his back sometimes, but you know, if he builds his muscle mass, you know, his first burst, his first couple of yards could just become that little bit quicker. Who knows? But yeah, I think I wouldn't be disappointed with Phillips, but I do just want Davis in there at this point. You know what I mean?
When I was speaking to a few Preston fans when he started, they said he's probably the best defender they've seen in the Championship for a few years. He's meant to be like really good. Whether he's that good in the Prem, but his ball distribution, when you look at stats, he can distribute the ball like Van Dijk can. Probably not to the level of Van Dijk, but he can ping it 40 yards across the pitch, which I think we've missed more than ever this season.
It only takes one of them early on.
To unlock the defence.
Salah chest sit and goes, and all of a sudden everyone's won. You know what I mean? He can stumble and can see the goal at some point because his composure isn't quite there, or he's nervous or whatever. But you point back to them, the way he pings that over and all. It'll build his own momentum as well, and it'll build his own confidence if he does just try one. If he tries one of them and go and Klopp ends up catching it, you've got a different story on your hands, I think. But like I say, I think, you know, the lad's distribution, that was the one thing that people were talking about. He's not the biggest, is he?
No.
He looks quite a slight lad, but athletic at the same time. So yeah, I think, to repeat myself, I think you've just got to play them. I think you just got to play them together. Because if they don't play a game together at centre half this year,
what was the point of buying a left and right sided centre half?
Exactly. It was like we bought them to play together and spent like a couple of Freddos on them and borrowed one of them. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think we have to. Yeah, we just have to. I'm trying to convince myself that there's other options, but I can't see any other at the minute. Like you say with Nat Phillips, but then we played so deep, and I just don't want to see that. So yeah.
Before we go, then, what's your score prediction for Sunday?
3-0.
Bold. Like,
I reckon. I'm saying 3-0. No. Yeah, 3-0. Okay. I'll go 3-0. The Reds. I reckon Salah will get 2. And Thiago gets his first goal.
I think it's going to be like a Palace game, like a 7-0, you know.
7-0?
I honestly do. I think someone is deserving of an absolute thrashing from Liverpool. And for me, I think someone should go in that dressing room and just say, do it for the fans, do it for Jürgen, and do it for Alisson. And
do it for the fact that Chris Wilder voted against the 7-5 subs.
Yeah. Just go and absolutely batter them. And I think Joss is going to come in and just revolutionise the front three again. If he starts, I think we batter them. But I think I'd like to see Diok start as well, to be honest. I think he'd be a good asset in the midfield in this game, but I just think we're going to I can't see anything other than battering them, considering how bad they've been this season and how awful their keeper is. The fact he spent £20 million on Aaron Ramsdale, who conceded like 90 goals for Bournemouth last year. I just can't see anything other than us absolutely fucking them.
Did they concede 90 goals last year?
Something stupid like that, yeah. And then they went and bought him for 20 mil. But they wouldn't pay think it was 40 mil for Dean Henderson. Instead, they went and got Brewster and Ramsdale rather than getting Dean Henderson and probably being mid-table this season.
It's just, I think Jota's a big key. I think you're right. I think if he starts, we play a different game. But you know what speaks volumes? I forgot Ox and Keita existed.
Yeah.
And
they're both
I think
fit.
Block might slowly be in that camp as well. I think at some point probably we just sell both of them with Shaqiri and Navigi. And, you know, that maybe that builds the funds for our next big signing, you know what I mean? I think Jones has played himself into that contention. You look at the Chelsea game at the end of last season, when we beat them on the trophy lifting game. Keita, it was amazing. He scored that screamer. You're thinking, right, now's your time, lad. You know, we're linked with Thiago. Do what you got to do.
He gets injured again.
And Curtis Jones has done the business, and he's just been an absolute scouser and boxed it off. So there's nothing, you know, it's not against Jones or Keita. He's just done what he's got to do, hasn't he?
I'm excited for Jones, very excited, and Keita as well. We've brought someone in who can work with injuries better, so maybe he does stay. Because if he does stay fit, he's world class, but he's just got to keep him fit.
But the lad's like Kante with flair, isn't he? That's what he reminds me of. He just floats, and he's got an engine on him. But I don't know, just a couple of things early on. The fact that he didn't he couldn't learn the language and stuff like that. I thought that's not good. He's shown so much promise. Like, I remember that first game against Palace when I think it might even be Andros Townsend. He was pressing him on the right hand side. And you see him in midfield, and he just rips him in half, and just goes on this burst and run because there was loads of space because he didn't press as a team because of Roy Hodgson's side, and it was just like, what, this fella, like, because we knew at the time, even with Henderson or Wijnaldum, neither of them would have done that. He'd just put it into the centre half, and we'd gone another way. But he just took it on himself and went, nah. And he was brilliant up until that Napoli away game, about 2 or 3 weeks after that. And he got that back injury, and he hasn't been
the same since.
Quite a consistent run since. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, hopefully one of us are right, and it's 3 points. That's all I want. Just 3 points. Just want to win. I'm bored.
Only Liverpool fans can watch that run of form that we've just gone on and go, you know what? 7-0.
Quietly optimistic. I'm more optimistic for the Chelsea game though than that, but I do think we'll win. But yeah, nice one for coming on, Michael.
No worries, mate.
I appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give a like, rate, and subscribe, follow all that jazz. And if you're listening on Spotify, follow on that. Been Redscast. Nice one for listening.